All right, welcome to Shoe Geeks podcast. Just myself today. We're missing the two other hosts, but we have a great replacement. We're here with Elliott Heath from Nike Running over in Portland. Welcome, Elliott.
Thanks, Julian. Yeah, excited to be here.
Why don't we just run through a little about Elliott Heath? What is your background? Set you up a little bit so we can chat a little bit more about innovation with you guys.
Yeah, for sure. So, I come from a running background overall. Ran kind of high school and collegiately, and then after college for a handful of years for Nike and the Bowerman Track Club professional team, and had a few injuries in my career. Ended my career a little earlier than what I had planned, but throughout that time was super fortunate to be kind of around the shoe development process and campus and really smart people working on shoes that I used to test shoes for. And then got an opportunity to start working on the shoes. I always like to think of it now as trying to work on the shoes that I wish I had as an athlete. So try to bring that mindset to it every day. But yeah, now since 2018, I've been a product line manager for our footwear team here in Nike Running. Doing a lot of specific work on pretty much anything competition, like anything on the track or field, as well as road racing. So yeah, kind of live, eat, breathe running, kind of at all times of the day, and try to funnel that passion into the footwear.
Yeah, cool. It's pretty cool to hear that runners are designing shoes. Like I know that there's a lot of engineering that goes into it, that kind of thing. But to have someone who lives and breathes running, it's a bit of a breath of fresh air, I guess, as a runner myself, knowing that someone like you is thinking about the shoe.
Yeah, I love doing it. We've got some great engineers that are runners. I guess my background was in engineering, and then that's what I went to school for. And then work on a really awesome team of like really smart people, engineers, designers. And I think like really cool part of the team that I'm on now is just like how invested everyone, no matter where their background is, they're actually like super invested in getting out and talking to runners, not just like the most elites, but also like everyone entering the sport. And I just think that's really important, is to like, yeah, understand what runners are, what are they feeling, what do they need the product for. Kind of that mindset in the life that you live every day, of like fitting runners and getting them shoes. So I think that's really important and something I really love about our team.
Yeah, well, that was part of my next question. Like, how do you fall into a role that seems like it would be a very niche kind of job to have, like designing running shoes, performance running shoes. The engineering stuff clearly like gives you a bit of an advantage, but is there specific majors at college you can do to get into the footwear industry, or is it more a who you know, who you're about sort of thing?
I think it's like more what you're about. I think it's more like what are your passions? It's interesting, like talking to our team, there's a very wide range of backgrounds. Coming out of college and university, you just scratch the surface in terms of what you can learn at that point. But if you're just like passionate about runners and passionate about footwear, I think you got a lot more to learn and kind of expand your career from there. So I think there's some parts of our team, like truth, like I'm not a designer. We've got like true designers, that like they do go to design school, and that's more the traditional, like what you think of someone, carving and drawing the shapes that eventually become a shoe. But I guess the whole team works together to like influence the design and development of the shoes. There's certain parts of our team like that, like the true engineers on our team, like, yeah, they maybe went to school a little bit more specifically for it. And then there's other roles within the team that maybe bring a more broad background. But I think what you find over time is that everyone that's working on it has been pretty passionate about runners or sports, athletics, and kind of just athletes in general. And I'd say that's like the biggest qualifier.
Yeah, cool. So just there's a lot of like different titles within a design team or like a product team. Can you just give me a quick I know it's very more complicated than what you can probably provide in this timeline, but a quick, from a very thought process behind a shoe to when it hits the shelves, what sort of stages and cycles does it go through? Like how many hands does it go through before it hits the shelf?
Yeah, it might vary based on the shoe, you know, like for a product where it's really pushing innovation maybe and trying to make a big change, that could start the furthest out with our innovation team, where we have like a, you know, full building of people working on just innovation, like, you know, trying to fail or you know, hit success 1 out of 100 times, of just like truly pushing the edge of innovation. And that can start very long in advance. That can start you know, 8 years in advance, just working on concepts. And then as those concepts get more and more refined down, about anywhere from 2 to 4 years out is when like an inline product team would start to blend in with that innovation group and start to refine those concepts a little bit more, and start to then really create a more targeted brief as to where you're going to take those concepts into like a final shoe, you know, what the end user, what the end athlete looks like, or who that might be and who it's going to serve most commonly. And then it really gets refined down to there from that crossover point of innovation, and then working on it up until about anywhere from 6 to 9 months out from when a shoe would actually launch. That last like 6 to 9 months is kind of like scaling manufacturing and everything, and working out those side of things. So everything's prototype up until that point, and then it's then it gets more into manufacturing.
Yeah. All right. And when does
But
oh, sorry. When does the
I was
product?
going to say, like, the less, like, there's other shoes where you're not trying to push as much innovation, and it might be a shorter timeline. You may not cast it so wide, and you're trying to stay a bit more consistent with something. And so that'd be more on the 1.5 to 2 years timelines.
Okay. Yeah. The I did visit the campus in 2019, and we spent a bit of time with John Dimoff down at the I think it was called the Kitchen, was it back then or something?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that blew me away, how creative and how out of the box those guys were down in that little room. And that little it was almost like a crazy science lab down there. I had no idea that that's how people think. And like I'm not a creative guy, and so it was almost like watching someone compose music down there, like plucking ideas out of the air and trying to make it real, like converting their dreams into reality.
Yeah, I mean, we've got, so if it's, I think the Kitchen is the right name, you know, because we've got some real chefs
Yeah.
putting together amazing ingredients and coming up with, yeah, crazy recipes. And I think that's kind of like our innovation team at its best. And like the way we think about it is, I mean, it's amazing, like having those people and then matching it up with the ability to then go out and work directly with athletes and just like let an athlete's voice guide it. And it's amazing to be able to have the resource to come back and iterate very fast. And that sort of innovation and development process is like so key to us, is kind of the combination of those expert chefs in the kitchen and people working on the projects like that, combined with really great athletes, is kind of what makes it great. So I love that part of it. I've seen kind of both sides, and fortunate enough to like test some of the shoes along the way as an athlete, and then now seeing the other side. It's cool to blend those two worlds and expand the understanding of both sides of those worlds, expand the kitchen's understanding of the athletes and the athlete side of the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine that there would be some breakdown there between like the crazy chef and the person actually eating the food at the end. Look, we're here today to talk about the Alphafly 3. So look, not a lot of people have got their hands on them yet because the release was pretty limited first off over here. So but the feedback has been exceptional. Maybe one of the best received shoes since maybe Vaporfly next percent, I would say, where it's unanimously kind of loved by everyone that sort of put it on. Can you explain to me when the brief came in for, well, the main brief when you were looking at the next version of Alphafly after the 2, what did you want to create? What changes were you looking at making? And do you reckon you executed the changes you wanted?
Yeah, I mean, I would say overall, it's really exciting to hear that it's being received that way, from you guys and just the athletes that you've been able to talk to about it. But yeah, we were really excited, and I would say overall, just as a team, we're really proud of kind of what came to market. It was our most tested racing shoe that we've ever had, so we really just pushed the limits on that. We really, a couple of things, like we wanted to, it's obviously something, it's a world record breaking shoe. We want to go after the pinnacle edge of working with the most elite athletes, but we've also just been on a journey with athletes in general in understanding just the new racing shoe technology. And I get super excited about expanding the experience of racing shoes to so many more people, without taking anything away from the best in the world and what they're chasing. Like, we want to make the best shoe possible for them, but the cushioned shoes and like having a thicker stack height shoe and a racing shoe, it's amazing what that can even change to someone's experience, all runners' experience with like the sport of running and marathoning, especially. So that's really exciting. Like, we wanted to keep on that journey. And I guess one of the big things that came up with that was just, we wanted for just like more accommodating of everyone's stride. It's pretty easy to notice right away that you ended up with a connected bottom the first time for the Alphafly, not something that was there in the 1 and the 2. And I think that just was something really positively perceived from our elites, as well as other athletes running. Even for the elites, like not everyone's got the same foot strike. Even if you do have a great foot strike, talk to me at 35K, things might change a little bit. And so having a little bit more accommodation and smoother transition for all foot strikes is really, really big positive for the shoe overall. Then I think being able to combine that with adding that in connected bottom while also being a lot lighter than where we've been before was a huge, huge benefit and a goal of the team. We just had too many athletes kind of telling us that they had to kind of make a trade-off or a decision of like something like Vaporfly versus Alphafly based on weight. And so we really had a huge goal to bring that a lot closer. Obviously there are some constraints with just trying to bring thicker stack into a shoe and maximizing comfort and the needs of the marathon, that more material generally equals more weight. But we just tried to look at where can we possibly kind of take away anything and keep everything that's needed, but take away anything that's not, sort of thing. Yep. And then, yeah, lastly, just like comfort was a huge thing. Something that all runners can benefit, whether you're elite or everyday or first to 10th marathon. Like, marathon's got to be out there and you got to be comfortable for a long time. Can't be getting blisters, got to feel like really confident with the shoe. And so we focused on a lot of areas of comfort as well. So yeah, those were the things that we tried to focus on, improve, while at the same time just knowing that like air is kind of the engine of the shoe and what makes it the Alphafly super special. And so just really building around like trying to maximize the performance of that air zoom technology, because that's something that we've studied a lot and understand to be super special in terms of the performance of the shoe.
Yeah, well, I'd say you've executed those changes if that's what you wanted, because that's like, as a retailer, we don't get the 2-hour 20 marathoners really coming through our doors very often. Like, that's not a customer that really needs to be, we don't really need to chat to them too much about footwear. They kind of know what they need. They'll try a few things, but it's the 3 to 4 hour, 4-hour plus marathoner that does sort of look at these shoes and go, is this for me? And in the past, like, racing shoes have always sat on this spectrum where it's very much at the performance end, and then you lose a bit of stability, or like, I guess there's been a spectrum of really safe at one end, really fun at the other end, or performance and safe. And the unicorn shoe is the shoe that can sort of push further, like one way and the other. And that's what I think Alphafly 1 sort of gave us. And then Alphafly 3, like to me, like you mentioned, the variety of foot strikes and the 35K mark, very different foot strike to probably the 2K mark. So I think you've done a magical job. There's another trainer out there. There's a jogging shoe from another brand that sort of hits that unicorn sort of mark. Whereas I reckon this could be that unicorn in the racing world anyway. How do you, like, you're a coach at the Bowman Track Club still, aren't you? Like, yeah. How do you advise someone who might be better in a Vaporfly 3 versus an Alphafly 3 for their marathoning?
Yeah, so that's been one of the things with the Alphafly 3 that I've been a lot more confident even talking to every athlete on, and just feeling like the Alphafly is going to be better for them, even if they, again, as you get later in the race, just the confidence in the extra cushion in the stack. It's something that, like, you don't often get to kind of push that or experience, get to that zone of super deep into training where you start to experience the benefits of fatigue and that extra cushion, protection from the impact. And I would say just with the 3 as well, the hesitation from athletes has really just kind of gone away. Like, the Vaporfly, it's funny, like the Vaporfly was foreign at one point, and it was very new and different. And then now that's kind of like the standard, and everyone feels like that's super comfortable the same way that like an old racing flat was. And I think we're now kind of on that journey with the Alphafly where I think the Alphafly 1 and 2, like they were like special and different in terms of like the energy that they gave you back and maybe what you felt, but felt a bit foreign. Whereas I think the Alphafly 3 is, it's special, but a little bit more familiar instead of foreign. And I think you get that feeling. There's been a lot more people talking about, like, I feel what I like about the Vaporfly, but I now also understand what the Alphafly is always there to give in that extra energy return, like the feeling of the AirPods. I think that's been a lot easier for people to kind of understand and wrap their head around with the Alphafly 3 versus it feeling kind of foreign with the 1 or 2.
Yeah, that's how I kind of describe it. Like, it's kind of like a pumped up Vaporfly. Like that's ideal really for me anyway. Pretty heavier type runner. Appreciate a bit more stability. I pronate a little more. Find like the Vaporfly 3 is a lot more stable actually than the Vaporfly 2. Not sure whether you guys find that, but I definitely felt that. But that Alphafly just takes it to the next level, like in terms of how confident I am when my foot hits the deck. Now in the lab, you mentioned it's the most tested shoe you've ever had. How does it rate in terms of like economy testing versus the Alphafly 2? And even if you put it next to a Vaporfly, like do you have pretty set data on that?
Well, we tested, one of the big things that we expanded was like, I mean, we've been doing running economy testing since, the first Vaporfly and kind of the journey towards breaking 2, but our testing has actually expanded a lot more into the other things that we're looking at, focusing a lot more with athletes on not just like in the moment of economy, but also what's that doing to helping you kind of build your training over time. What does it look like kind of even using the shoes in training and recovering? And so like, what's kind of the percentage athlete better that you can show up at the starting line, let alone like what's better for you when you're standing on the starting line. But we tested really, really expansively, again, not just with the elites, but we kind of expanded to all levels of athletes with the idea of kind of like, what is your breaking 2? Kind of like, is it breaking 3, breaking 4, breaking 5? We also had an incredible program with a bunch of female test athletes, or that were part of our Dreamweaver program, that they're on a journey of like testing for a really long period with this shoe and others, as they were on a journey towards like Olympic trials marathon. So Really, really good and extensive feedback from them throughout the whole process. Yeah, focusing on like some of the numbers, but also just like what seemed to be even just as important is just like how comfortable is my arch? How comfortable is the shoe feel on my foot for 2.5 hours? Because I think once you focus on those things, actually, you seem to unlock actually paces and speeds that you weren't even really focusing on. Like, even though we kind of built it as a marathon shoe, we've seen a lot of athletes start to run a lot of even faster workouts in the shoe than maybe even like intended, or that was like the focus. But I think that's just an example of testing all the things and athletes being really comfortable in it. And then it kind of unlocks a level of freedom for them, I guess, in a pair of shoes.
Yeah, you're starting to talk our language now, or my language anyway, like around feeling comfortable late in the race. We have people like weighing the shoes and deciding what shoe they'll wear based on how it's 10 grams lighter, but it fits so much more poorly through the forefoot, or like it doesn't have much platform through the heel of the shoe, yet they're a rear foot striker. And it's like, I love to hear that's how you're thinking. And it sort of shows through in the shoe, like all those little design features. Like one of the best things I've found in this Alphafly is that little bit more accommodating forefoot, like toe box volume. It just allows the foot to splay a little more. After 2 hours in the shoe, your foot doesn't feel like you're in a racing flat. It feels like you're in maybe like a lightweight trainer. And it's pretty special to get that with such like a light upper. Yeah, like kudos to you guys on that. Like, again, something missing in the racing world is just the thought process around comfort.
Yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate it. We had incredible teammates in our Flyknit team that focused a ton on comfort for the upper. And you can even see, if you look really close, like the toe box has slightly less material than even in the midfoot. There's these extra little bands that come down of material. And so that kind of contains the midfoot, but then it keeps the toe box even lighter and more flexible. Because you got to have, like, as you push lightweight everywhere, you still got to like contain the foot in the right spots. But yeah, our Flyknit team did an incredible job of just taking that sort of brief and idea of like comfort where it's needed, containment where it's needed, and then reductive where it's not.
Yeah, and then the Zoom bag. I've often wondered like what would happen if you just replace it with Zoom X and you just made like a one-piece midsole. Is this a heavy component to the shoe? Is it heavier than foam, the bag?
It's the material that like you have to think of it. There's a lot of negative space in a Zoom bag, right? Like the material that might make up the edge of Zoom pod would be, it's not the lightest material. But then when you figure out, or you consider that there's a lot of air, or there's a lot of negative space that comes to it, overall it equates out very similar to a really, really lightweight foam. And then, even though I think if you do kind of turn it over and check all sides of the shoe, like I have one here, and you kind of look at, even though it does have, a connected bottom to it, if you feel just with your finger in and around the Zoom bags, actually there's a lot more space around them. And so that design was really focused on, have the connected smooth transition of the bottom, but then also clear away area around those AirPods so that they could really do their job a little bit better. The more space that you give them, kind of the more efficient and magical or energetic they can become in terms of storing energy and giving it back.
These little columns that you see within the airbag, these little fibers, what are they made of?
I'd have to get back to you on the exact, because I think it varies slightly in terms of our different. We have a lot of different kinds of Zoom Air, and in these ones, they're really there is like, so this type of air for us is really performance driven. Those fibers in there, they're on tension as the AirPods like inflated with air, and those help to kind of restrict or create the shape of the AirPod. So you can actually put a lot heavier or a lot more pressure into it, which is like higher performing, while still maintaining the same shape. Without those, they would basically balloon up. It would just expand equally in all directions, whereas those fibers kind of create the shape for a performance AirPod.
Yeah, cool. I've never noticed how much cavity there is around it. Like the actual cavity in the foam where it sits. I haven't really noticed that before. It's kind of interesting. If anyone has one at home, they'll be able to have a look in there, try to get some light on the other side, and you can really see through.
Yep.
So one question that I've had that's been popping up lately, it comes around your sort of elite marathoners. We're seeing a lot of them still prefer the Vaporfly 2, it seems, in the marathon versus even the Vaporfly 3 and over the Alphafly 3. Seems to be a lot of podiums you see at the end of the race. Like everyone, I don't know, my social media is flooded with the shoe podiums, I guess. And it looks like the Vaporfly 2 is almost the most popular shoe for Nike, especially the African runners.
There's certainly a few athletes that are preferring that and still choosing it, but I've seen a lot of our athletes again make the change and switch over, the Alphafly 3 kind of being their first one that they have adopted. I think you'll continue to see that over time. As you know, as an athlete, I think there's always like some athletes that just feel really, really comfortable in a shoe, and that just takes a longer journey. That's kind of on us to, we still just want to get out and make sure we test and give them the time to feel comfortable in whatever they're wearing. We feel like there's great benefits to both of them. I think on average, you'll see most athletes really trending towards the Alphafly being built more as our pinnacle marathon shoe. Vaporfly is not going anywhere. The Vaporfly is, our most versatile all around road racing shoe, from marathon all the way down to seeing really great success in a 5K or something like that. And that'll continue to be the kind of the case, but they're always going to have like a little bit of overlap in terms of just some personal preference to it, but we'll continue to build the Alphafly for the benefits that we see for the marathon. And I think you'll see that trend kind of go in that direction over time as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, on that, did we see Elliott Kipchoge wearing a prototype Alphafly in Tokyo? There's a few whispers getting around about maybe there's something different on World Athletics too, like in the shoe list.
Yeah. So we're always, trying to push the edge of what's next. And the development shoe process is something that we've really tried to work with World Athletics on and make sure that we're kind of following everything, the guidelines there. But Elliott's, he's tested, I don't know, basically every racing shoe, since the inception of the Vaporfly, and always working on more things. But he's loved the Alphafly in general, just ever since running the first, 159.40. And so he'll continue to be a part of every step of, Alphafly development with us.
So, yeah, okay. Now, what do we got for Olympics? How much license do you have here to let us know what we can expect in Paris?
I think you can just expect athletes in. Are you talking specifically to the
specifically
marathon?
Not really specifically Nike, because I know you won't be able to share a lot. But is there anything sort of that can come out and you can give a few hints on what we might see on the track or even on the road?
I think what you'll see. So just first off, on the road, like we're on a journey. Alphafly's kind of started our journey of new racing footwear from 100 to the marathon. Alphafly's leading that journey. We know that there's been a lot of qualifications that are happening now, like for the Olympics, and that's kind of the Alphafly and building towards that is our first chapter towards it. So giving athletes the chance to really, adopt the Alphafly 3 and train in that and have every opportunity to feel super comfortable leading into Paris. And we'll layer onto that with more innovation for the track as well. But really just gonna give new innovation to everyone from 100 to 10K and including the marathon. So everyone's gonna have something new.
So yeah, sprinters will have a new shoe. Milers, distance guys, all new shoes. That's exciting. I love it.
Yep.
Now, one question we often get in store on the social media, you'd sort of get it a lot, is the Alphafly 3 has a demand that's probably exceeded anything I've ever seen in footwear in the running world, but the supply is almost at the opposite end of that. Like this is the least amount of units I've ever been able to get from any shoe. So what is the limitation at a factory level when producing these? Like, why can't we make them like we can make pegs?
No, I think you'll just see that scale up because like I was saying, like our goal for this shoe is to get it to a lot of people. And I mean, the one you're holding there, as you see, it's like it indicative of its proto colorway. We are under kind of rules and regulations to make sure we get shoes and we sell them kind of as quick as we can to look after the athletes so that then they are legal at the right times as those development windows close off. So as we've entered into this time period where athletes are qualifying for the Olympics, and you have like something like the US trials and obviously Tokyo Marathon and these other marathons that are going on, we're trying to get pairs out as soon as we can with that initial batch to make sure it's legal, and understand that doesn't service everyone, but certainly have plans to scale it all up and make sure that this shoe gets out to all of those athletes. So yeah, I really hope and look forward to that like happening coming forward, but this is just kind of the first amount that we could get out and get straight to the athletes.
Good problem to have, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just an adaptation too of like, again, hopefully we're on a journey where more and more people are just kind of understanding or getting excited about that, like they can have a racing shoe for them. If you go back to racing flats, that just wasn't probably a recommendation that you were given to a lot of athletes walking into your store. But I think as that market expands, it's pretty exciting to have the best shoe that we've ever had for elites as well as everyone else.
Yeah, 100%. Like just because you're slower doesn't mean you don't deserve a fun shoe. And it's been quite an elitism type feel with racing shoes in the past. And so yeah, things are changing now and it's great. Like especially the one thing that I love is just how comfortable the shoes are now. Like you don't have to sacrifice that. I reckon that's a game changer for you with this shoe in particular.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All right, Elliott, thanks for coming on, mate. Appreciate you giving up your time. Also, thanks to Nike for allowing you on to chat to us. Like, it's great to have one of you guys on now and to hear from the source, basically.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm glad you're liking it, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yeah, thanks, mate.